Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Revolutionary Health. So, I am warm and I'm wearing my holiday hat, and I am going to be spending a few minutes with you recapping Revolutionary Health throughout the year. It has been an amazing year for Revolutionary Health, and you have watched more than 45,000 minutes of Revolutionary Health throughout the year, and we are so incredibly grateful for that. So, as you all know, Revolutionary Health is a program of the Counter Narrative Project. Our mission is to build power among Black gay men and work in coalition and solidarity with all movements committed to racial and social justice. I am so happy to be with you. My name is Johnny Ray Cornegay III, and I am the Mobilization Director for the Counter Narrative Project and sometimes host of Revolutionary Health. So if you hang out with us for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about some highlights from the year. And please go down into the comments. Make sure that you leave your comments for some of your favorite moments from Revolutionary Health throughout the year. Oh, before I forget, if you haven't done so, please go ahead and like our YouTube page so you can find us at Counter Narrative Project on YouTube. Here's a secret. Revolutionary Health will be moving to YouTube in 2019. We'll keep you updated on that. But go ahead and make sure you like the page now. You can find us on Twitter at Building Desire, and you can find us on Instagram at The Counter Narrative. And while you're at it, just go ahead and make sure you've hit the like button here on Facebook. So, hang out with me as we're going to talk about some key moments from Revolutionary Health this year. Shade. It comes from reading. We know that from the immortal film Paris is Burning. Shade is one of those things that we know can be used as a defense mechanism for many folks. It can also be something that's incredibly hurtful. So on Revolutionary Health, we decided to explore shade. And you will hear Charles Stevens and Dr. David Malbranch chatting about coming out amidst shade and also building community.
The final topic that I would hope that we discuss is about shade. I just had this provocative thought. I was like, what are the ramifications of shade? It's like become kind of like a sort of right? Like it's in pop culture, it's like everyone's throwing shade, but I'm like, well, what does it really like? What do we mean by that? And like, what are the implications? So to give you some more context, thank you, David Watson, for liking the video. So many of us, I think, go into community thinking it's gonna be like this very affirming, like, we show up and it's like, oh, Charles is here. When you first come into, especially Black gay community, a lot of us think that it's going to be Gala Cheers or something.
There's a big party, there's balloons,
a parade maybe, like you have arrived.
Absolutely. You came out. Congratulations.
Congratulations. You get an orientation packet.
Right,
it's like, but that's not really the experience for all of us, right? Many of us might experience a kind of we might perceive ourselves experiencing like rejection when we first start entering Black, especially social spaces, or even online. Really, like I think to talk about shade is also to talk about rejection in a sense, like a sort of feeling of collective rejection. And one of the things I understand about Black gay men, and even myself included, is that we are very sensitive to social rejection. We are extremely don't not remember somebody's name, don't remember, like we're very sensitive. And it's very triggering for us, obviously, because I think so many of us come from that's so much a part of our journey. And I've seen like sort of like some organizations try to do stuff like, oh, this is gonna be a shade-free zone and stuff like that. But I don't think we've ever really kind of wrapped our brains around like what it means to really create affirming spaces. And not just and so I just wanted to have a little discussion about that. Like, what are your thoughts?
My thought,
do you throw shade?
Well, I don't know if I'm as good as shade, but I do think what's interesting is that generationally, and now in this day and age, it's not just generation. So I wouldn't just say millennials are, taking shade to another level. They could be.
Don't start nothing.
But who knows? But like baby boomers throw shade, Generation X throw shade, millennials throw shade. I just think it's the venue through which the shade is thrown. Like back in the day, it would be an epic beatdown at the club, or on the streets, or outside, or in a restaurant, or whatever the venue may be, that you do it to somebody's face. Now the shade is all thrown through the internet. And so whether you throw somebody shade on Jack'd or Grindr, or you throw somebody shade on Instagram, Snapchat, or Facebook, or whatever it is, people do that. I think for me, we all have times where we get very defensive. If we feel like someone's coming for you, you're automatically gonna fight back. It's like we could be cornered animals because we're used to being traumatized. We're used to being ridiculed, or we're used to being discriminated against. So we get a whiff of that, especially from one of our own. We're just gonna lash out immediately, and so it becomes very hurtful. Yeah. And I think the thing for me is that I remember a long time ago, there used to be a magazine called Arise magazine.
Oh, Arise. I wrote for them one time.
Exactly. So shout out to Glenn Alexander and MacArthur Thornoy, who created that amazing. And they asked me, I did a health column for them.
Arise.
And yeah, Arise, exactly. And at one point they wanted to discuss like coming out of the closet or coming into a Black gay community. What does that mean? And I wrote, the title of the piece that I wrote was Coming Out to What? And so I was questioning kind of, what are people coming out to? And I don't believe in coming out of the closet as kind of that social paradigm that everybody makes it out to be. I think it's got a lot of flaws. And I think people can just be who they are and disclose or invite people in, as Darnell Moore said, about inviting someone into your space rather than coming out of something that's automatically deemed as pathological. But I also thought we're encouraging all these people to disclose their sexual orientation, to tell everybody that they're gay. And if you do the kind of white gay Dan Savage thing and say, what's the famous slogan? It gets better. And it doesn't always get better. So with all due respect to Dan Savage, like, you can't just do a little catchphrase and say, oh, honey, just come out of the closet, it's going to get better. Because for a lot of Black gay children, there are a lot more important things that are going on in our lives outside of just coming out of the closet. And then if you come out of the closet and say you're not of the typical kind of masculine, skinny, aesthetic, cute boy aesthetic that everybody has, you're coming out to a whole lot of discrimination, a whole lot of bullshit, a whole lot of ridicule, a whole lot of shade. And so, you know, what are we telling people to come out to? Should the message be to come out of the closet, or somehow find a space where you can be affirmed of your sexuality so you feel comfortable in that? Because this kind of rote thing of just saying, come out of the closet, I don't really know what that means anymore. And if what we're coming out of the closet to is so shady and kind of full of a lot of negativity,
but
sometimes I see some people like not wanting to quote unquote come out, whatever that means at all, because they'd rather spend time with their friends or by themselves rather than put themselves through the shade and ridicule and the games and the quick queen snaps that a lot of people will do in the gay community that we have.
I guess for me, I guess I was like really committed to building a community that affirmed me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hear so many stories, especially, from brothers in Atlanta and DC and New York and all those places about how, how horrible the scene is and how, and all that. And it's something I hear a lot, and how difficult it is navigating it.
Right.
But I think, from the time I was 18 years old, I just was like, I wanted to find a tribe that I felt affirmed me and valued me.
How did you do that? Like, how did you?
A lot of it was trial. A lot of it was trial.
To do that.
A lot of it was trial. Well, I wanted to survive,
right.
And I was definitely, I always talk about how, like, for a lot of activists, you see them on the other side, and they act like they've always been these sort of like black men loving black men, like super activisty, but we ain't all, we ain't always, we've all had our journeys. Right. I remember praying that I wasn't gay and like being struggling with it and thinking I was going to go to hell. So I'm like, I know what it's like to come out of that, right, and to be in that space. So for me, once I got out of that, I was like, I'm gonna be happy. Like, I'm gonna find joy. So I really started.
So, of course, we launched Revolutionary Health this year, and then we ended up taking it on the road. Here is Dr. David Malbranch, L. Michael Gibson, Larry Walker, and Alfonso Mills at the Saving Ourselves Symposium in Birmingham, Alabama this year, talking about the first time they fell in love.
Charles Stevens is asking the question, when was the first time you were in love?
I did. Honestly, I feel like the first time I was actually in love, and this is no bullshit, I think I was in love with my brother. It wasn't a romantic love, but like, he was the first black man in my life that actually felt like saw me. And he showed me, like, he modeled for me like how my suitors were to treat me and were to respond to me. He poured into me religiously. And I think, honestly, I can honestly say that the first time I actually felt in love with somebody, like, I cannot live without this person, it was honestly my brother, Larry LaPearl Walker Jr.
The first time I fell in love was in college. It was with a brother, and I know he won't mind me saying his name on here. His name is Mark Coleman, and he's since like married and doing this thing. But this was in college, and we used to DJ together at parties, and we were friends before that. But I just found myself like Like, this brother's fine. Like, he's
Okay.
beautiful. And, you know, I'm gonna step to him. And we started messing around, but we were, I think, 18, 19 at the time. So both of us, like, hormones were raging. We weren't mature. I messed a lot of things up. He'll tell you that. And I remember when he finally, like, cut things off from me, he was like, I can't do this. You're not comfortable with yourself. And he kind of just, like, dumped me. I remember I sat in my dorm room and I played, oh, Lord. I was a DJ, so I had vinyl. And I played Patti LaBelle's "If Only You Knew," and
That was real loud.
and I
That's awesome.
curled in the
That was
fetal
real loud.
position and cried, playing it over and over again. And I was mad because he was having sex with some white girl in one club, and I was so mad at him that he was doing that. And I was like, if only you knew how much I do. You know, I was going in with that. But that was the first time that I really knew I fell in love. I could think I've had relationships where I fall in love after that, but that was the first time, like, I knew I was in love with it. I was in love through and through.
I was 16. He was 23. He thought I was 19 when he met me. I did not correct him until I turned 18. And we were, a very fiery young couple. Lots of breakups, lots of getting back together. We were our R&B song by Keisha Cole. It was very intense. First love is extremely intense. I don't know that. There's just an abandon in which you do it when you're young that you're much more reserved about later in life.
Right.
But yeah, we went back and forth 2 years, a lot of breakups in those 2 years. And then finally it just was like, it's time to call it quits permanently.
Mine was in college as well. Freshman year, didn't really know much, but and I didn't really grow up around a whole lot of gay people. So I was at Morehouse, and there's a whole bunch of not black gay men, but just black men in general. So I'm just
you could.
I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna say that. But no, I think I fell in love because I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't know what a relationship looked like. I didn't know what being with a man looked like. But he walked with me and we both just kind of figured it out at the same time and gave each other the space to mess up and not necessarily do everything the way we would have liked to, but to continuously work hard towards it. And we only lasted like maybe 8 months, but we messed around until graduation. So it was, I don't know what it was, but I guess just having that one person that you kind of toughed it out with to kind of figure out what you like and how I'm going to do this. And we stuck together with it. So that was the guy.
All right.
There are many shows on Revolutionary Health that need no intro. This is one of them. Daddy Rod came to visit and brought with him a suitcase full of sex toys to have a conversation with Dr. Malbranch and I. Here's part of that conversation.
Steel balls.
What did the string feel? Can I feel this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so it's kind of smooth.
Yeah, but once you start with the lube on it, it won't feel it's abrasive.
This is for real, like the Today Show, but it's not.
Right.
So we're gonna expedite this.
Could you see like Kelly and Michael doing this?
All right, so we're gonna now this kind of.
Oh, we're gonna shift.
We're gonna shift these things over.
Oh, we have some fun stuff coming out. Y'all.
So we're gonna
dance and graduate.
So we're gonna graduate here, kind of to the intermediate to the more freaky. Here's a double-headed dildo.
Double-headed dildo. I am fascinated with these.
So this is beautiful for us who love to deal with two bottoms, and you have one bottom here, one bottom here, and their booty holes are touching right here. Fabulous scene. Fabulous.
So would it be
and it's a great weapon.
Would it be safe to say? Would it be safe to say with a lot of these toys, the main stimulation or pleasure is from the interaction with the prostate?
It is,
because that's what I always think, and I always try to tell people
goal.
That's what the prostate is, because the prostate sits right there, right up against the rectum. So when someone's fingering, or a dick is going up there, or a toy is going up there, it's stimulating the prostate, which produces a lot of the protein and glucose and some of the other fluid that goes into semen. So when you come, the prostate is being stimulated by these things, and that's what happens. So
and my goal is to stimulate the prostate, because I'm throwing this like this,
right?
But
you're triggering Charles.
I'm sorry.
He's
but
triggered
my goal is, because people's like, do you come when you do these things? I said my goal is actually make the bottom come.
Right.
Because I want to make sure I'm doing my job.
Right.
I'm stimulating to the point where your prostate is ready to explode.
Right.
And once I know I've gotten you to that point, I'm good.
Right.
So that is a really good point. So we're talking a lot about being able to use these with other people, and I think that's so important as well.
Very much
So you get that connection with
Yeah.
folks too.
Mhm.
That vibe is very important. I mean, I can't stress. We talked about this in our own interview. One of the mantras in the leather community and kink in general is safe, sane, and consensual.
Yeah.
Safety in the sense of make sure you're safety with your toys, you're in a safe space. Oops, sorry. Sane, make sure that they're sane mentally. If they are doing something to kind of, whether it be drugs or alcohol, make
Right.
sure that they're okay with that,
Right,
you know.
right.
And then consensual, again, pretty much the vibe. Are you vibing with this person? Because it's a mind-muscle connection.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm relaxed and I relax you, your muscles relax.
Right.
And so instead of making it feel painful, it's actually more of a, as I call it, an erotic pressure. You see that?
Colonoscopies. We have heard that term used, but not everyone has actually had a colonoscopy. Thank you to Dr. David Malbranch for being willing to talk about his experience with having a colonoscopy, as well as explaining what colonoscopies are for our viewers. And we also spent some time on this same show talking a bit about penile health. That is not a topic that we've often discussed, and we wanted to make sure that we dedicated some time to that on Revolutionary Health. So here's Dr. Malbranch and Charles Stevens having a chat.
Absolutely. So we wanted to, well, first, I know that you had a colonoscopy a few months back, I guess.
Yes.
And, would you mind sharing the latest?
I think I shared somewhat of an update, but not the full update. So I had
would you mind saying what a colonoscopy is one more time?
Yeah, colonoscopy is when you turn, and for people of African descent, the recommendation is getting your first screening one at 45 years of age. If you don't have any family members with colon cancer or anything like that, if you just have a regular routine history, that's the time you should probably get screened for it. Everyone else can get it at age 50. Basically, they insert a tube with a camera all the way from your butt, all the way close to your stomach, and they just take pictures and look at everything. They see if anything's abnormal. What I heard was that they noticed for me everything looked good, but they had one polyp. A polyp is just a small bit of tissue. Some of them can be precancerous. Most of them are benign and don't mean anything. They took a biopsy of it. I got the report back that said everything was negative. Okay. So they want me to come back and have a repeat in 5 years. And so I will go back in 5 years. For some people, if it's completely normal, they only have to go back every 10 years. So it's a blessing. So I appreciate all the prayers, the love, the shout outs. The affirmation about getting the colonoscopy, it was wonderful.
A lot of people have been praying about your butt.
So, I know. And
let's talk. Okay, so one of the things that I thought we should discuss is penis health.
Okay.
So we talked about anal health before, and I was like, well, we should probably talk about the other side of things too, so to speak. So, David, would you mind just sharing some insights about how to keep your
penis happy?
Exactly.
I'm trying to think of like a few things that we talk about. There's no like penile screening recommendations where the American Cancer Society or another group says, this is what you need to do to keep your dick happy. There are a lot of things that we talk about. And so when we talk about the dick, you're going to talk about testicles as well. So the one thing I guess I can start off with is talking about screening for testicular cancer. So if you're a man between the ages of 18 and 30, about 67% of the cases of testicular cancer happen to men below the age of 30. Wow. And usually it's painless. Usually it doesn't hurt at all and people won't have symptoms. But what we try to encourage people to do is that about once every month when you're in the shower, just kind of inspect your testicles. And what that means is not to kind of look at them closely, but between your thumb and your forefinger, testicles are about this big. So you just kind of run your fingers through them, kind of examine it like a walnut or a grape, and look for any lumps or masses or anything abnormal. Do that maybe once a month and you should be fine. If you have a partner or a spouse, have them do it as well, like make it interesting. So you can kind of do those things as well. But that's one aspect I think of testicular health. The other thing that I tell people is to masturbate or have sex or ejaculate, because that actually cleans the pipes out. Drinking a lot of water will help as well as far as penis health. If you're circumcised, you probably don't have to worry about a whole lot of things, but obviously washing every day. If you're uncircumcised and still have your foreskin, one of the things we always tell people to do is just maintain proper hygiene, because when you have foreskin over the head of your penis, it's a closed environment. And so any kind of closed environment like that will be more of a medium for bacteria, fungus, viruses. So we've seen in a lot of studies that men who are uncircumcised have higher rates or
have a higher risk of getting human papillomavirus, which causes warts, herpes virus. Some studies show it's a higher risk for HIV transmission. So if you're uncircumcised and aren't planning on being circumcised anytime soon, just make sure you kind of pull the foreskin back, wash thoroughly. If you're working out or have a long sweaty day, like do the same thing. Just to make sure you kind of keep everything healthy and happy. Those would probably be the 3 or 4 things that I'd mention.
Just to go back.
Childhood sexual abuse and trauma is a very difficult topic to discuss. We know that it is something that definitely impacts Black gay men and boys. Grammy and Tony Award winner Billy Porter joined us on Revolutionary Health, and we spent some time talking about his personal experience with childhood sexual abuse and trauma. Here is part of that conversation that includes me as well as Dr. Malbranch.
I don't know. I've managed to just maintain my sanity. Yes. And completely consistently working every day to try to find the type of healing that is peaceful.
I was going to ask, how do you think it played out, like in your relationships, like intimate relationships? You know, I talk about, you know, I tell people, you know, I think there's a lot of stuff with like daddy stuff, and you know, my relationship with my father was rocky, and I think sometimes the manifestation of looking for that kind of love presents itself in kind of your relationships, and you search for the same type of people, and then it manifests in a different kind of way. And you can talk about condoms, you can talk about anonymous sex versus relationship sex. How did that trauma in your childhood, and how you were carrying it with you, with your voice, with your talent, how did it play out in your intimate relationships?
Well, related, there's a question from our audience related to that question, which is, what strategies have you deployed to create healthy relationships, both intimate and familial, recognizing the trauma that we experience in our communities in terms of intimate, being in love with other Black men can bring a host of dynamics that are often unspoken. So kind of speaking to what David shared. Thank you, Kasim.
Yeah, thank you. And if you have questions, I know people are already probably doing it, but if you have any questions, just type it in the comment box. We'll get to as many as we can.
I think the manifestation was that because there was a person who claimed to love me, who was in charge of me, who violated me, but it wasn't violent, which was also confusing. It wasn't violent.
Break that down.
It wasn't violent.
Unpack that.
It wasn't violent. He groomed me. He courted me. He courted me. Like I say in my piece, he courted me. I was prime real estate. Because you're born this way. I was prime. Anybody who saw me knew that I was a little sissy, as they called me. You know what I mean? So before I even understood what that meant, he understood what that meant. I believe my mother married 2 gay men. My biological father, who I truly believe was a queen, and my stepfather, who I truly believe was a closeted gay man. You know, and it doesn't justify anything, but it makes me so sad because that's where our community is. So it manifested for me in relationships in the sense that sexually, I could fuck a stranger all day long. The minute it became intimate, it was associated with somebody who was supposed to love me, and that terrifying. Love in the sex. You know, so for 30 years, I would be able to have a relationship with somebody at the beginning. I would be able to have sex with them at the beginning. And then once the feelings deepened, I started to feel suffocated. And how do I, also, I roll back to not having any game.
Really?
Because somewhere inside of me, it felt predatory. So I'm sitting back and waiting for somebody to come to me because I don't, and I would try, and it's like, I'm going to try, but if it's sort of like, if it's work,
Right.
I'm not going to do that.
You're out.
Because I don't think it was conscious at the time, but I had a string of relationships. I wouldn't even call them relationships, but I would have a string of several. I would say in upwards of 12 to 20 men in my life who I would go out on dates with for extended periods of time and couldn't get to the sex.
That's it for this year's recap. Because of you, Revolutionary Health became the 2018 Pause Magazine Best Video Series winner. And we couldn't be more ecstatic for all of the support that you've given us throughout the year. And we're hoping that you will continue to join us in 2019. So I want to go ahead and thank all of our guests. I want to thank Billy Porter and thank Daddy Rod and Larry Walker and L. Michael Gibson and Alfonso Mills for being part of this journey this year. Of course, I want to send a special shout out to the hosts of Revolutionary Health, Counter Narrative Project Executive Director Charles Stevens, as well as Dr. David Malbranch. And I also want to send a shout out to our director, Alvin Agarat. So this has been our recap for the year. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you tune in. Like I said, we're going to be moving over to YouTube, but for right now, keep joining us on Facebook regularly, and we will see you in 2019. Peace.